Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the RUCKCast. You might immediately notice that I've been replaced by a much smarter and better looking co-host. This time, John is unavailable. So I said, you know what? We should probably get somebody who actually dresses up for this type of stuff and knows Wi-Fi as opposed to John and I. So I brought a friend, of ours on.
I'm not that dressed up, man. I'm missing my tie. I feel naked. Maybe I should go get a tie.
Yeah, this is only like the second. I've known you for how many years, Ferney? I mean,
I don't know, many.
And this is like only the second time I've ever seen you without a tie. So it's always a little bit of a shock. We're joined today by Ferney Munoz, who's if you're in the Wi-Fi community, then everybody knows Ferney, but I wanted to bring him on and talk a little bit about Ferney and have him introduce himself because he's doing some really cool things, and I wanted to bring it to our listeners and viewers, and so I thought this was a good chance. So Ferney, why don't you take a couple minutes and just introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll get to talking here.
Absolutely. First, thanks for having me on your show. I'm originally from Colombia, and I came here back in '99 to visit some friends that I met when I was a child, and I ended up staying. I started working as a volunteer at a school district here in Utah, and originally we're just doing all the installing Windows 95 and fixing computers, swapping power supplies and things like that, and running wires, and people started bringing all of these little wireless things that they had in their houses, and they wanted them connected to a network, and we ended up with, 500 of those Apple Airport Express wireless devices throughout the classrooms and stuff. Later, we had a solution that was zeros, a big flying saucer-looking access points. And then later, we had about 1,300 Ruckus access points. We had Ruckus everywhere, 7363s and the 7982s. And then later, we got the 700s and the 710s, and now after I left the district, now they're over 2,000 APs now. They have all flavors in it, and of course all kind of controllers and doing stuff. So that's how I kind of ended up in Wi-Fi, mostly because they just started creeping up in our networks, and we had to learn it. And now I do some of the ECHO training, and I do a WLPC conference with Mr. Keith Parsons, and just consulting and testing and just trying to keep up with everything that is happening in this world of Wi-Fi.
I have to laugh because you brought up a Xeris, and a lot of people might not know that, but if you happen to look right above Ferney's head, hanging on his rack of APs up there, he's got a Xeris AP above his head, which I saw that earlier. That made me laugh. And
actually, it's not calling AP as an array, because that one has 12 radios, 12 of them. So,
so here's my question though: is it on, or can you?
Not right now, but I turn it on every once in a while in class. Or when I'm writing papers or stuff that I need to show 12 APs, then in one array, I have 12 radios that I can configure and show in a Wi-Fi Explorer Pro really neatly how things are. So yeah, very useful actually. Use it a lot.
So Ferney has a lot and Ferney is actually, he might not know this or might not even remember this, but Ferney is a big reason why I'm at Ruckus, because I took ECSE design from you at WLPC.
That's right.
And he was my instructor when I was struggling to complete the ECSE final exam, and I couldn't do the cool thing I wanted to do. And I remember sitting up front in your class and just wreaking havoc and just being a great. Yeah, I know me wreaking havoc, but I was a great distraction in the class, and I just remember, and it was a thing of you always using the Ruckus R710 as every time you want to demo an AP, you'd be like, hey, let's use a Ruckus R710, let's use a Ruckus R710, and so after I was defeated by your by your exam of trying to do the 3 floors of that building, with all the different things. I was like, let me try a Ruckus R710. I was like, maybe Ferney's onto something. And so that's when I first got really introduced, was thanks to Ferney, and now I'm here. So thank you, Ferney. Although,
thank you.
My boss might not thank you very much because now he has to deal with me. But So you were talking about WLPC, and I wanted to bring this up because by the time people are watching this, you are actually going to be in Spain. You are actually getting on a plane later on the day we're recording to get on a plane to go to Spain for WLPC. Can you take a few minutes and just sort of tell everybody, kind of a little bit of high level what WLPC is and what you're going to be doing in Spain with WLPC?
Perfect. WLPC was a conference started by Mr. Keith Parsons. I attended the first one that was in Austin back in 2014. We just celebrated the 10th year anniversary. And it was a conference that he wanted to do for just go and talk about Wi-Fi. Most of the conferences we go to is just vendor driven, and there's marketing and sales, and, they scan your name to get, or give you a stamp to get a prize or get into a drawing. We wanted a conference where you just go and, talk to your friends and do the things you like to do and receive swag that you want to receive, not just pens and cup holders and socks, but like things you can use and walk out of a conference with a tool or with a license to access something or with an AP or anything like that. And he did that experiment, and we're 10 years going on. I've done a few in Spanish. I did the first one in 2017 in Bogota. And then we did a second one in Mexico City a couple of years ago. And then we did a third one in Medellin, Colombia. And now this is the first year we're going to bring it up to Spain. And we're going to have it in Valencia. Well, Valencia, if you want to pronounce it, how the locals do. Valencia. And then it's a conference where we just go. We have classes like for this one, we have 2 boot camps. One is going to be the CWAP, the analysis professional, those 3 days before the conference. And then there's the certified Hamina network architect. That class is going to be delivered by Diego Huertas. Of course, it's going to be in Espanol. He goes from Colombia to deliver it. Only have 2 boot camps. This is a smaller conference. With the one in the U.S., we get, between 300 and 400 people. The one in Europe is about 200 people, and we're outgrowing the venues. These ones in Latin America are smaller, kind of like trying to bring this to a more affordable pace. It's the same format as WLPC, just in Espanol. That's the one thing. And then we have the shorter time. And then in here, we're going to do deep dives. It's going to be shorter and in series. So since this is a small group, breaking it into smaller groups is kind of difficult. So we decided to just have shorter deep dives and make them one after the other. So we're going to have 4 of them this year. One's going to be in pen testing that Vanessa Diaz from Mexico is going to go and deliver. Then I will be delivering the Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, because Adrian is not going to be able to go. He was originally scheduled for that. And then I said, hey, your deep dive still carries on. I will deliver it for you. So everybody's going to get a license of Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. Isn't that a good perk? And then Julio Petrovich from Netherlands is going to come and give a deep dive on the Cyberscope Air. And guess what? He's going to raffle one of them at the end of the class. So some lucky winner, man, is going to take one of those beautiful toys home. And then there's going to be the Hamina certified. Well, it's not this whole certification, but it's the Hamina deep dive. The same that these guys do at WLPC in Europe and in the US and in Mexico. They're going to deliver it in Valencia. So, yeah, we're going to have those 4 deep dives, just 2 days of presentations and classes. So it's a conference where you come and learn and meet other people that are doing what you do, and basically just expand knowledge and meet new people in the field. That's basically what it's all about.
After hearing you say that, I'm a little sad that I'm not going. I mean, because
you can come to Mexico in November.
Yeah, but I'm sitting here going, man, going to Valencia, cool. All four of those deep dives, very cool. The little Net Ally Ether Scope, or it's the site. What do they call it?
It's
Cyberscope.
called Cyberscope Air.
Cyberscope Air. I want one of those, and so I'm just sitting here going, yeah. Now Ferney's going to run off into his man cave and pull it out for us. But and again, it's one of those things that Ferney was mentioning about, when you, I want one of the is WLPC is all about. You don't get the pens, you don't get all the other little squishy balls or things like that. I mean, it's like, oh, you get to leave. You have the potential to leave with one of these, and you get the tools. The Wi-Fi Explorer Pro, which if you are a Wi-Fi professional, okay, I like that. That's kind of a nifty little power up screen.
Cool, yeah.
Now you're making me. So that's what WLPC is. And Ferney didn't mention it, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it, is that the one in the US and the one in Europe, and we have to admit that Spain is part of Europe, but the one in the northern part of Europe is mainly English focused, and so the Spain one and the one later in the year, Mexico City is in November.
Yes.
November is part of a bigger effort that Ferney's been working on, and I've been I don't know if it was an accident, but I was included in one of his calls a few years ago, where he's trying to bring the community to Spanish speaking. And so that's sort of the push and effort there. And so if you are a Spanish listener, that's why I wanted to talk about this, is because there is this community that Ferney is building to go do this stuff. And WLPC is Ferney has been the flag bearer for this one. And so, I really have to tip my hat to you for putting in all this work to build that community and to be able to bring WLPC to that. And yes, the plan is for me to be in Mexico City in November to teach a deep dive, which I didn't realize I had to condense it. So that's going to be fun. We will make that one work. But I want to take a little bit of time, now that we've covered WLPC, to talk about your community, not just of the WLPC, which I think is just kind of part of your Tesos and Wi-Fi community. But I want to talk to you more about that. Really, that's really where I want to go. Can you tell us how that comes to be, and how if somebody wants to join, how they could do that? I mean, what is that all about?
Well, Tesos and Wi-Fi happened thanks to COVID. COVID brought a lot of disruption to the world, but it brought a lot of good things also to many industries. And I think our community benefited from a lot of these things. And one thing that is true is that many jobs disappear or change or shifted, but jobs in technology just got stronger and more relevant for this world. And after teaching classes face to face, people used to ask in the past, hey, do you guys do online classes? No, that's not training. We have to be there in class with the instructor. And then COVID hit, and then we were sent home, and we had to start teaching this online, which I love right now because we have more time to cover things. The flexibility helps people, from multinationals to just be in training all the time. That my camera what happened is that thing, the gestures thing that you do, it just freezes my camera anyway. So we ended up teaching classes online, and one of those weeks after class, Friday afternoon, I started a Zoom call and called a friend, Felipe Rangel in Medellin, in Colombia. And I said, hey, how's COVID? How's, being confined? And just kind of talking about it. He was in his backyard flying a kite with his daughter, and, and telling me how work was, how working from home was, and kids in school, but, from home, all these things, that we all lived through for a year. And then, we talked for a good half an hour about work, about things that are going on. And then I told him, you know what? Maybe we should do this every week. And he said, what? Meet? Okay, so I sent an email to like all the people I had in my contacts that spoke Spanish, and I said, "Hey, this is an invitation to the second Tesos in Wi-Fi meeting." And everybody was like, "Second? How come I was not invited to the first one?" And then people started showing up. Like that first one, we had like 100 people, and we would just talked about like, "Hey, how's life? How is it going?" And then we had like the first 5-10 minutes. It was just chit chat, talking, and this is the type of meeting, kind of like when you are at the office, and then at the end of the week, you go and meet with your friends, and hey, let's have a beer or let's just share a coffee and talk, and then you talk issues, and now I'm going to go play soccer over the weekend, or, my son's got this game, and you kind of like the chit chat you do outside of work at the end. And then you start talking about, oh man, I have this issue, this client side that, I haven't been able to figure it out and stuff like that. But we do it at a global scale. It's not just with your coworkers in your office. It's just like, guys from Mexico join, guys from Spain join, guys from Argentina and Chile, and all these people just come together. And then we talk. And then we record everything and upload it to a website that I created. It's called the Wi-Fi of things.com. So every session is recorded up there and uploaded to it. And sometimes we have to pause the recordings because, some talks that you have on the weekends with your friends cannot be recorded. So we pause the recording, then we talk. And sometimes it's like a guy's like, "Hey guys, I need some advice. Can you, like stop the recording?" Sure. We stop the recording. So like, "I'm shifting jobs. I got this offer, but I don't know how to approach this. I don't know how to tell my boss." So we also help each other. "Oh, you should approach it this way, or it's going to sound better if you kind of do it then," and things like that. So we help each other as friends. And then we have also shared, we laugh and make fun of things. And sometimes we had difficulties, like people that have lost loved ones, and then we kind of like address that. And then, we have shared, some difficult moments for some of us in the community. And then we're there, like it's every Friday, and we just do it regardless. Like, I think it was last year, the year before, the 31st of December, so New Year's Eve, and of course Christmas Eve, they landed on a Friday. So we still did it. So for us, we found that 11 a.m. Mountain Time works good because Colombia and all those other places will be like 2 hours ahead of us, or 1 hour. And then Spain is going to be like 7-8 p.m. And then we have people from Italy, people that are Spanish speakers but live in Stockholm. Like we have members like Alejandro. He's from Argentina, but he lives in Stockholm. And then it's like nighttime for him. So all these guys gather. And this community has grown to that point that, we have people from all over the world connecting. Tesos, for those of you asking, that's a Colombian word that means like someone that is skilled or something at something. So Jim, you'll be a Teso in RF.
Okay.
Because RF is your thing. So you're like a skilled person in RF. Tesos and Wi-Fi, like somebody that is skilled in Wi-Fi, but it's just more than Wi-Fi. That just Wi-Fi touches, switches, routers, firewalls, everything. And then, we had guys from Radio Links talking to us and teaching us. A guy from Argentina taught us, like how to create links and on license space. And then we had Aruba experts, and we have Ruckus experts and Cisco experts, and all these guys gather, and then we talk and help each other out. And then sometimes we just create sessions out of, like, a friend once called me from Mexico and said, "Hey, Ferney, I need your help. I'm on this client side, and I having issues with this Sonos speaker." And then they have Cisco infrastructure. So it's like, look, I don't know much about Sonos, and I don't know much about Cisco either. But hey, let me just create a session. And then I created a Zoom session, sent out the link to the group, and within minutes, like boom, 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 guys started connecting from different parts of the world. And then he explained, this is what I'm doing. And then the conversation, because, the Cisco guy would say, "Oh, check this, and go to RF profile." And then the other guys, like, "Oh, we tried this." And it ended up being something with MDNS and some configuration for multicast and things like that. But that just shows how the community has grown to a point that it's not just to chit chat and talk about, "Oh, your week, how was it?" but to train and help others in this world that we live in, because everything is connected, and we cannot be experts at everything. There's so much that we hadn't learned AC when AX hit, and then we were trying to figure out AX when Wi-Fi 6E hit, and then now we're talking AFCs, and now we're talking all of these Wi-Fi 7 and Wi-Fi 8 and 802.11MC and all this stuff. So some of these guys specialize in certain things, and that's what they do. Members of the community that are like in hospitals, big hospital networks that they manage, thousands and thousands of APs and stuff. They also participate and contribute and teach. And we have trainings like every week. We show how to do things, and somebody will come with a problem. That's the other thing. Like guys will come like, I had this issue where access points are not being found by Ekahau and this band. And then we start testing, and then yes, we realize that some of the stuff that Sidekick is supposed to do, like for instance, with the computer, you cannot find APs in non-PSC channels. See, and you can find them with the iPad and the iPhone, but not with the computer. And then the other thing that we discover is that Ekahau does not show the channel width correctly, like some APs. Oh, let me see, my camera froze again. How do I unfreeze this thing? There we go. It's back on. So it doesn't find all of the channel widths correctly. Like I have APs in channel, let's say 133 at 80 megahertz wide channel, or 160 megahertz wide channel, and then it's found and detected as a 20 megahertz wide channel. So some guys have come like, hey, I did a survey and I couldn't see any AP in 6 gig, even though I was on the control and I could see all of them. So that's how we start learning about some of these things. Let me give you another example. I was in Jamaica doing a survey at a convention center where there were some issues with Aruba APs. And then I called one of the Tesos and Wi-Fi group members from Mexico and said, hey, I'm doing this with this model of AP, and that's the problem. And then he said, like, yeah, I've seen this before. And said, like, and I'm ready to upgrade. And he stopped me and said, no, don't upgrade. Don't upgrade, downgrade. Because then, that's going to like, oh, okay. So, you always think like move forward, get the newer release. And then one of these guys, he stopped me and said, downgrade. And that fixed the problem. So sometimes, yes, you have support. You can create a ticket, and then you're going to get a call back. And then, you have to go through a normal process. But having members of the community that are just there and are your friends, then it's kind of like cool that you can do that as well. So that's what the community evolved to. It's not just a group of guys talking about their weeks and ranting about something, but learning and teaching others, about other stuff, things that maybe they specialize in. So that's what the community is all about.
And, I don't know if we could even stress this enough. And you've been doing this, building the community longer than I have, but, the whole learning from each other thing is just so invaluable. I did a presentation at WLPC a few months ago in Phoenix, and I used your rant from one of the Slack channels, because it was like, Ferney did 90% of the work for me and laying everything out. And I was like, yeah, and I've been tracking that you were talking about the 6 gigahertz surveying and not being able to see the channels and the PSCs. And I've been tracking that as well, because it's one of those things where, especially with the new stuff, there's just so much, and you only have so many minutes and hours in the day. You need that community to bring that, because it's kind of like having just this whole network going out and doing their own thing, and then bringing it and reporting it back and saying, hey, this is what we're finding. We're finding that this is happening. And so having a community, especially in something like Wi-Fi, and you mentioned that I'm a Tesos in RF, and it's funny because I've talked to some people who I would, look up to and say, hey, I kind of know RF. They really know it. And they all tell me the same thing. They always say, I know enough to know that as soon as I think I know something, it will change, or I'm going to learn something different. And so that's why I really appreciate the people who really sort of take hold and drive these communities, because with RF, especially anything wireless, there's so much that can change, especially when, you taught this in the ECSE class I took from you, the game, and DCF. And it's like when you suddenly realize like what it takes for a client device to associate to my AP here over my shoulder, and make those lights go orange, like you pointed out earlier. It's like what it takes for that to happen is just so amazing. It's like you have to have that help and that support from other people to, not only validate, and sometimes just to validate, to make sure that what you're seeing, you're just not crazy. It's like, am I really seeing this? And so,
I'll tell you what's crazy is that it works, as complex as it is. And, it works all the time. And that's one of the big problems, is that it was designed since the beginning to simply work. And nowadays, today, large deployments in different parts of the world, they are just poorly configured, and people are suffering and having a bad experience because the technology is working, but not working as good as it should work. And I think that's one of the things we cannot stress enough, is to get people trained and kind of like share that knowledge with others, because some people are being thrown in this situation where they are now in charge of 600 APs at the business, because the Wi-Fi guy left, and hey, you've been running the cables and mounting those white boxes, those routers up in the ceiling. Wi-Fi? Yeah, I know Wi-Fi. You have Wi-Fi? Yeah, I have Wi-Fi in my house. Do you configure yourself? Yeah, I get like, oh, Wi-Fi. Boom! Now you're the Wi-Fi person, and now they are without the knowledge, doing all these deployments, and many people. This is one thing that kind of gets me, Jim, is that I've been to places and I say, okay, let's go walk with me and I'll show you, and you'll get your tools out. And then they get like, Wi-Fi analyzer on Android. Like, what other tools do you have? Like, no, that's it. I don't get approval to, like go to training or buy, a professional grade tool. And it's interesting that companies will spend millions of dollars in infrastructure, but they cannot approve, $5,000-$6,000 for training or go to a conference or get a license to a product that is going to help them understand better this technology. So education, I think, is, as much as companies talk about AI and all of this, you're going to be replaced by computers, there is still the human factor that is needed to accomplish this. I've seen so many poor RRM deployments that, it will just APs with 400 milliwatts of power in a one AP per classroom deployment. Like, what do you need 400 milliwatts if all you're covering is one classroom? And then other APs at 3 milliwatts, it's like the discrepancies, and APs at 160 megahertz wide channels in Uni 1 and Uni 2. Basically, everything is in one channel. All of these are results of algorithms that are not working well, and you still need the humans to go out there. And I think the sharing of knowledge is one of the keys to improve the infrastructure. And nowadays, the lives of people depend on Wi-Fi. It is needed to understand this so that we can benefit from it. Industries, the oil industry, nuclear power plants, all these want wireless, not necessarily just Wi-Fi, but they all want wireless. And we just have to understand it and have other people out there that, understand it well enough to configure it properly.
Yeah, it's amazing. You and I know this, so this isn't news to us, but we always talk about how 20 years ago Wi-Fi was this kind of cool, nice thing to have, but anymore it's a utility, just as much as people expect the lights to be on. There's bathrooms with running water; they expect the Wi-Fi to be there. That wire, and to your point, anymore there's even more to the wireless than just Wi-Fi. There's all the IoT stuff, the Halo, the Zigbee, the BLE, the CBRS. There's all of this stuff, and as a Wi-Fi professional, we're being asked to kind of take on more and more. And
absolutely,
we still only have 24 hours in the day. And I tell my boss, I'm like, look, I still only have 2 hands, and so I can only type so much so fast. So
yeah,
the sharing of knowledge is just, again, it's something that we have to be able to do to keep up and keep up with the demands that we have. So so can anybody join Tesos and Wi-Fi, or is it restricted? How does that work?
No. We're not. I mean, this is just a group of friends, and we have people from different backgrounds. And again, this is vendor agnostic. We're not like, oh, we only take the Ruckus people, the Cisco people. No, like everybody from any field. And I had guys who say like, well, I'm not very good at Wi-Fi. Like, but you do switching, you do security, you do firewalls, come and help us, teach us something about what you do. And then I think everybody is an expert on something. Like we had this girl at WLPC Mexico said, hey, do a presentation, because unlike the conferences in the US and Europe where people fight to get a presentation slot in there, I have to fight to get people to present because, we don't have enough people. So I had like, okay, you're presenting. No, I don't know. I don't know anything about anything. Like, well, you have to know something. Where do you work? Here, tell me about yourself. And then long story short, this girl that, she had nothing to present about. She didn't know anything. She was not, and she ended up managing a network with about 300,000 access points because all she did, she worked for a service provider in a country in Central America. And then she was in charge of testing and making sure the deployment of all of these modems that were sent home were properly. And then she had visibility of all of them and all the stuff. Like, you manage one of the biggest networks I've heard anybody manage, And then some people, they just don't get the scope of what they do because, they're so used to it. They do every day. Like, oh yeah, of course, that's normal. It comes natural to them. But for us, like, wow, really? That's exciting. So everybody is good at something. Switching, routing, cabling, firewalls, point to point, I don't know, talking to people, It's just one of the things. So anybody can join. And then it's very simple. You just send me a personal email to my ferney75@gmail.com account. And then I just add them to the list. And every week I create a Zoom meeting. And then I send them an invite with the link to the meeting. And then if they can, they come and join and participate of it live. And many people always come to the live sessions. Others, they cannot. Fridays are hard. You have end of week and you're always busy, and some cannot, but others will watch it later and then they will come back all the time. They're like, hey, that problem that Alex from Spain mentioned, I had, and this is how I solved it. So they send me the info and then I later say, hey, Alex, the problem you had, and then that's how things start evolving. Or sometimes guys come up and say, hey, I cannot be at the session, but I had this issue. So I bring it up on their behalf, and then other guys respond and contribute. So it's very simple. And then later when I've recorded and uploaded it, and sometimes we have to, crop things out and remove sections of the video, or sometimes we keep the audio and remove just the video because guys like, hey, I have this problem, I cannot show this because of customer privacy. So it's like, not a problem. We discuss it, we talk about it, we help them, go here, click there, and then we walk them through. But then later we have to just delete the video because it shows IP addresses and company names and stuff. So privacy is everything for us. And, in our industry, we just have to be really careful with what's out there. And we just try to help each other in a way that it doesn't feel the pressure that, oh man, if I talk to this group, my boss is going to know about it. And sometimes I have bosses and their employees there because they realize, okay, I need my guy to be here and learn about this. And then what happens is that the community starts getting more like trusting each other. And then knowing that, hey, I can talk to these guys about it. They'll give me good advice, or they will show me how to do it. And then they also start loosening up and like, oh, yeah, I know how to do that. Let me show you, And then like we have this guy in Spain. His name is David Garcia. And like we were talking once about Wireshark, like doing some filters and stuff. And he was like, also like, I have something, it's something silly, And then he showed us like these big things on how to filter things and how to like analyze conversation. Like, that's great. I didn't know how you could do that. Like, well, I do it all the time in my, my job. Like, yes, I know. You're so used to it that for you, it's like, oh, there's some silly thing. Like, there's nothing silly about it. The knowledge that each person has that is just like everyday thing for others is probably something they've been struggling with, and something that's going to make their lives easier in their jobs. So sharing knowledge, that's what it's all about. So a community, very simple. Just send a personal email or go to the Wi-Fi of things.com. That's the website, www.thewifi-of-things.com. And then we upload every session there. And we are up to 202 sessions. So
holy,
and counting.
Wow.
Yeah, because It's one every week, and so every time there is a special event, like I was a delegate for the first time at Mobility Field Day, so I uploaded some of the sessions there. So that's what we're trying to do. Join us, and it's in Espanol, but we've had English speaking guests. So this is a Spanish English type of community. And maybe someday you should come and join us, Jim, and then we'll talk about, RF and your journey and, all that stuff. This is open for everybody.
I've been meaning to, and I think this might be the catalyst I need to get signed up and just see what it's all about and see what I can do to help contribute. Because I'll tell you, I know a little about a lot, and then I know a lot about one thing, like you were saying. So, I might have to just come over and check you guys out. But it's really cool what you're doing, and and on behalf of the rest of the community, thank you for that, because it is, we need people like you to do that stuff and bring your enthusiasm and stuff like that. So, and again, I know we've talked about it offline multiple times, but you're a big fan of Ruckus too, so that doesn't hurt. Yeah, you got the puppy, and we'll have to we'll put those links in there and into our show notes, so people can know how to find you and get involved in the community. And
and I had a guy from Russia once, like, hey, I watch your podcast and your videos, like, but they're in Spanish. Like, wow, we put the subtitles and stuff, and we learn from all of these, like, oh, that's really cool. And then Jan Reister, a guy from the University of Milan in Italy, he speaks Spanish, and he joined us at the beginning. Now he has his own, like, Teslas and Wi-Fi in Italy community.
Wow.
So he kind of did the same thing, that he started, like, gathering people, and just people that speak Italian and they are in Wi-Fi or they are in IT. They also gather, have meetings, and share knowledge and teach each other and help each other. So all of these things are really helpful. And one of the things to keep in mind, Jim, is that before we are experts or whatever we do, or before we are IT people, we are humans. We are humans. And then, yes, as you said, there are not enough hours in the day. You have to do your job, but you also have to take your kids to activities, or you have your sick spouse, or your sick children, or your sick parents that you have to take care of. And then we have lives, and we all have struggles, and we all have issues. And sometimes you just need someone you can call and help, not only just to talk about Wi-Fi, but hey, maybe you just had a loss in the family. Maybe you just need advice on how to, change careers, or maybe you're struggling. Maybe you need help. And this is a community that is just so close and so tight that we help each other out without, and in here, there's like no compensation for any of this. All of these guys come voluntarily. They come and teach others without expecting anything, nothing, not even a beer, because we're like thousands of miles away from each other, And this is the coolest thing, that sometimes, like, we are in meetings and there's a guy, cooking, and then they have cameras on, and we're talking, hey, what are you cooking there? And he's like, we're doing some shrimp, and like, for dinner. And then it's just, sharing life. So that's one of the good things about technology, is that we can be anywhere and still be connected. Once we had a session, and I happened to be at the hospital with my daughter, because playing with my son, she cut her head open, and she ended up needing stitches. And it was time for the meeting. I started, and then, hey guys, I'll be here for the beginning, and then I gotta go, but I make somebody else the host, and off you go. Here's your thing. So we have open subject every week that somebody can just come and talk about whatever. And the presentations are not like they have to be all structured and they have to have slides. Like, no, it's just, we're just talking about it. So trying to make it easy and welcoming and just comfortable, that you're not afraid. And we'll edit things, we'll delete things, or just not display. I had to remove a couple of entire episodes. Like, Ekahau forced me to remove one, because in one of the sessions, that's when 6 gig came out, and the Sidekick 2, and I posted, hey, this is the Sidekick 2. Look, got it right here. There's the Sidekick 2, and I was showing about 6 gig, and somebody else like, oh yeah, and this other company, Hamina or something, came up, and they started talking about Hamina. And then because they saw Hamina on my podcast, and I'm an Ekahau guy, then I ended up deleting the whole episode. So things like that happen sometimes, but that what we're trying to do is just make this community in a way that, we can talk to each other and help each other out. You're in Ruckus today, but tomorrow maybe you have your own company, or maybe somebody's working at Cisco today, but tomorrow they're going to be at Mist. Not that happens very often in the industry, that people move from company to company, or that a company gets bought by another company, and now you have to go from blue to yellow or orange, or I don't know, whatever colors they have. So keep in mind, before we are professionals or before we work somebody, we're humans. And this is such a small world that I think we have to understand that community goes beyond, the dog that we care about or the colors of our company. Companies are nothing. You know what companies are made of, Jim? Humans.
People. Yeah.
Yes. People. And it's just having that relation with these people that makes these companies go and give you access to all this knowledge. So yeah, let's keep the community going and create your own. I had this guy, I think it was from the Netherlands. They say, can we do it? Create a community, just guys that speak Dutch. Or if you're in a French speaking country and you just have a small group of guys, then create a small group of IT guys in your community. Guys that do, I don't know, schools or that are in education or hospitality or stuff. Create your own community. And, there's sometimes we have meetings and just like one guy shows up and he's like, are it just you and me? Are we still going to have a session? He's like, hey, this is a session. You and I, our community, let's have a talk, and off we go. And then it gets recorded and it gets uploaded. And then we learn. If you learn at least one new thing in every session, that's good enough for me. So share knowledge, join a community, or create one, You cannot join one, then create one.
Ferney, this is fantastic stuff, and I would love to keep talking with you for for another couple hours. But I know you got to go and enjoy Spain. And now you're making me jealous. I wasn't until I talked to you. Now I'm like, man, I need to get back to that. So hopefully you have a good flight and then enjoy Valencia and WLPC and the community that you've built. And hopefully we can have you on, maybe later, and we'll talk about how this one went and what's coming up with Mexico City, so we can try to get some people to that one for you. So
absolutely. Yes. Thank you very much for having me. We have at the end of every session, we have a saying in Spanish, se les quiere gratis. In English, that would be like, how do you translate that? Hey, basically what that literally means is, that's like something so simple. I should be able to translate. Se les quiere gratis. It's like free love for everyone, basically. Like we love you for free. It's just like free love for everybody. Yeah. So,
all right. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank everybody for listening to Ferney. And we'll have the links so that you can join the Tesos and Wi-Fi, and maybe you'll see me there too. So again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Hey there. Thanks for listening. If you liked our show and haven't yet done so, please like and subscribe. If you want to contact the show directly, you can email us at ruckcast@comscope.com. Jim and I both read those emails. To learn more about any Ruckus products or services that we've talked about on this or any other prior podcast, please check out our About section of the show or the show notes. And as always, thank you for listening.